So when we break down English language arts proficiency by domains, we'll focus first on ideas, organization, and coherence. Ninth grade Lit has increasing numbers of students scoring distinguished, but they also have an increasing number of students scoring at beginner level. American Lit students are struggling to achieve distinguished levels as well as proficient levels. So when we look here, we see in the ninth grade Lit, our distinguished learners are growing, and our beginners are also growing. And we do have a good group of students, more so than we'd like, who are non-responsive. And so we want to figure out who those students are as well and see what we could do to get them to answer better. But in American Lit, when you go from 2015 to 2018, you'll see that there were several students who scored distinguished, and that number is virtually non-existent in 2018. So that's another thing we're going to want to look at. When you look at levels that are proficient, this number is fairly large here, and it shrinks here. And we want those to go back up. We also want to find out what's happening here. It's like a little bridge, and we want to see why these numbers are going up, and we're seeing a lot of growth in ninth grade from previous grades, but not in American Lit. Those numbers decline. When we talk about the domain of language usage and conventions in the extended writing, this is our area of strength. Ninth grade students have been consistent in becoming more proficient. American literature students have not shown the same growth. They're also consistent in their scores. And we do see more students moving out of the beginner level to a higher proficiency, and that's good news. So this is a stronger area for us across the board. You see in ninth grade most recently, we had the highest levels of proficiency. And although they've declined here, we also have an increase of students who are not responding to the written portion of the exam, and that is really problematic. We want these students to be able to complete the test fully. When we talk about narrative writing, we know this is our weakest category. We currently have a district team in place to address this area because it is where we struggle the most on the Georgia Milestones across the district. So we do have a district team in place for that. We're using RAFT, R-A-F-T. That is a plan we're using to teach kids how to write in a narrative voice and build that narrative voice so that when they do take this test, our scores will hopefully increase, and we'll see how those results work in the next year or so. Ninth graders are showing stronger growth in the area of distinguished in narrative writing, but American literature students are not. 2017-2018 showed that the most growth for students is in this domain, although we still have a lot of work to do. So here's our narrative writing. You see where our distinguished category has declined tremendously from ninth grade. And we want to get rid of these zeros. We're not getting anything for these. We are going to have to turn these into something else. We would like to move all of these up. And unfortunately, across the board, there's just too many students we're not getting any points for. So what do we want to do? First of all, we want to address any questions where there are any level of confusion about this data overview or our goals. But ultimately, we want to raise the CCRPI score. That's what we want to do. We want to lower the absenteeism rate for students with more than 5 absences. We know that when students are not here, they are missing instruction. And of course, that ultimately leads to how they do on the test. We want to target the weak areas on the Georgia Milestone exam. We want to lower the current dropout rate by at least 50%. And we want to increase by 3% the number of students moving up from developing to proficient and proficient to distinguished. And in doing so, we will get some of those CCR points back. So our action steps are to target students who are chronically truant. We want to target students who do not respond to questions with written responses on the Georgia milestone. We want to target students who barely missed moving to more proficient levels. Sometimes that's 1 or 2 students. And what we want to do with these students is we want to involve them in a personal learning plan for themselves. A lot of this we want to investigate and see how much it has to do with engagement, student apathy, things like that. What are the connections between these students who are absent and not coming to school, our white male population, which is on the decline? We want to tie all these in together and see if creating personalized learning plans and involving students in their learning will make a difference in these steps. A lot of this we know just from meeting with other teachers and talking to teachers even in other schools in our district. We know that there is a higher level of student apathy. So we feel like if we can put some of the learning back in the hands of our students, that we can see student engagement go up. We'll have more students coming to school. We'll have more students who are patient enough to complete the exam, answer all the questions. And so our ultimate goal is to take that type of action, the kind of action that's going to involve students in their learning, in the process of increasing these scores and doing better on these exams and in the classroom.